Now, the price we pay for energy is going to hit a 2-year low next week as a new price cap comes into effect.
Which sounds like good news, but there might be some billing problems to sort out first, because apparently almost 4 million smart meters across England, Scotland and Wales still aren't working properly.
Yeah, Nina's here to explain. Morning.
Yes, morning. Energy price cap coming down. Great. That's some relief for lots of households. But have you got a smart meter?
Yes, and I'm going to say, I shouldn't say this, I've got one that doesn't work. So I'm one of the people, yeah, doesn't work.
Same.
Oh, here we
really?
go.
Yeah.
Here we go. So we thought ours worked, and then we went in with the reading just to be double sure, and again. So 3 out of 3.
OK.
Could
That's
be more
not
of them out
great,
there,
is it?
there? No. So, unsurprisingly, good morning. A record number of people are running into problems with smart meters, both at home and in businesses. In some cases, giving estimated bills instead of tracking use, or just not working accurately, meaning too much or too little is being paid. So, at the moment, there are around 35 million smart meters in England, Scotland and Wales, and that translates to around 61% of all gas and electricity meters. By the end of next year, though, the government hopes to have smart meters in just under 3/4 of homes, which they say would help people manage energy use and stay on top of the bills. But the most recent statistics show that almost 4 million smart meters are working in traditional mode. So that means instead of sending accurate readings, they're working on estimates. Those bills can be corrected with manual updates, but that can be tricky to fix. So you might have been there, stressed and confused by high bills and overpaying, or perhaps possibly worse, learning you've been underpaying and being lumped with an expensive shock. So many of you have been in touch with Breakfast to share your experiences. So we went to meet Leon and Diane, who've both had smart meter issues. More and more people have these in their homes, smart meter displays showing how much energy they're using. But the smart meters themselves are increasingly faulty. And when those don't work, it can have a huge impact on your pocket. 75-year-old Diane has been having problems with hers since she changed supplier, and she was unable to give manual readings because of physical disabilities. That's when her bills started to creep up.
I was getting estimated bills all the time, which were about double, at least double, what the monitor was suggesting that I was using. And we've been fighting this on and off now for 2 years. It's always on your mind. You're always... I mean, I know electricity is expensive at the moment and everybody's got a problem with it, but it's not knowing what they're going to charge you, because they could charge you anything.
British Gas has apologised to Diane, and an engineer has been out to resolve the issue. But it's not just people at home having problems. Leon runs a sports bar in Southampton, but since it opened 2 years ago, his meter's been over-reporting his energy use, racking up £250,000 for electricity that the venue didn't use.
We were threatened with being cut off. We were told that, we definitely owed this bill. And we were just saying, look, we want to pay the bill, but we're not doing that until you sort out this meter. But we shouldn't have had to sit there and fight and sit there and take all the take the pressure. It would just, we would just open up the bar, and we're just trying to get this going. So it was a massive added pressure we didn't need to have.
Serve, who handled Leon's meter, said when it was set up in 2020, it was for a much more energy-intensive business. And when the settings were adjusted, the bill was recalculated to the correct amount. The Department for Energy said the vast majority of smart meters are working correctly, but said reporting errors by a minority of suppliers have shown more meters aren't working in smart mode than previously thought. Both the energy regulator, Ofgem, and the trade association UK Energy say it's now on energy companies to look into these issues quickly and put billing errors right as soon as possible. And that's the interesting thing. The more this is talked about, the more it's reported, the more we hear from people saying that their smart meter isn't as accurate as they'd hoped. The advice is to contact your supplier. If something doesn't quite feel right, then it's possible that it isn't. So check in regularly with those readings just to be sure. A big thank you to Diane and Leon for sharing their stories with us. And we know, of course, they're not the only viewers who've been affected by smart meters not working as they should. Me, John and Sally are also in that boat. Get in touch with us if you've been having problems, all the usual ways. You can use the QR code at the bottom of the screen, as well as the usual Twitter email addresses. We will be speaking with an expert later on to offer some advice on what you can do if something isn't sitting quite right with that meter. John?
Now, we have been talking about smart meters this morning, haven't we? Millions of them aren't working properly, and a new energy price cap is about to be introduced.
Ours aren't working properly, we discovered in the studio this morning.
None of us have a working smart meter.
Lots of you sharing experiences in homes of your own. Nina's been going through all the emails. What are people saying?
I have. What's interesting, there are 35 million smart meters in the UK, and we know there's an estimate that about 4 million, so just over 1 in 10, aren't working properly.
I bet it's more.
Yes. Exactly that. We've had dozens and dozens of emails this morning. Vicky in Pontefract saying, I have a faulty smart meter. Companies aren't proactive enough in checking with you whether or not they're working. There's some people who are quite distressed. So John on email sent this. My smart meter stopped sending meter readings last November. My wife and I are both over 80. We're unable to read our meters. After many phone calls and emails, I'm getting nowhere. So you can understand how upsetting that might be. Gillian said, and perhaps this is the advice, we've always said no to them. We just give our own readings every month to our supplier, and that works very well, accurate bills. The thing is, you're being encouraged to use smart meters, to move across to them. The government are encouraging that, and you can get better deals sometimes if you do go onto a smart meter. So it's a tricky decision. I think it's possible people are watching this morning and thinking that bill didn't seem quite right. Maybe I do need to send in a meter reading, and I'm pretty sure many of them will have some surprises.
And I guess with the price cap about to change again, it's really important that people get on top of this now.
Yeah, we will be talking about this a lot next week. The energy price cap coming down, so average bills will come down with it. Really important to know exactly where you stand as we make that transition.
And get the meter reading in quick. Nina, thank you.
Yeah. The price we pay for energy is going to hit a 2-year low next week, at last, you say, as a new price cap comes into effect.
There might be some billing problems, as almost 4 million smart meters across England, Scotland and Wales still aren't working properly. Nina has been taking a look at this and trying to fix it for all of us.
Yes, good morning. That's a big job, fixing it for everyone.
Yeah.
We do our best. So we're all looking forward, to the energy price cap coming down next week. That should be a big moment for household bills, but not necessarily if your smart meter ain't working in such a smart way, which we know is happening for many of you. Good morning. A record number of people are running into problems with smart meters, both at home and in their businesses. In some cases, giving estimated bills instead of tracking usage, or just not working accurately, meaning too much or too little is being paid. So at the moment, there are around 35 million smart meters across England, Scotland and Wales. That translates to around 61% of all gas and electricity meters. By the end of next year, though, the government hopes to have smart meters in just under 3/4 of homes. They say that will help people manage energy use and stay on top of their bills. But the most recent statistics show that almost 4 million meters are working in what's called traditional mode. Now, that means instead of sending accurate readings, they're working on estimates. Those bills can be corrected with manual updates, but as you know, that can be tricky to fix. It's possible you've been there, stressed and confused by high bills and overpaying, or possibly worse, learning that you've been underpaying and being lumped with an expensive shock. So many of you have been in touch with Breakfast to share your experiences, and we went to meet Leon and Diane, who've both had smart meter issues. Let's speak then with Lisa Webb, who's a consumer law expert. Good morning to you.
Export me if you want.
Yeah, let's off your pop. No, I'm joking. First and foremost, how is this happening? Why is this happening?
Well, there are a few reasons for this. Sometimes what you find is that people who are early adopters of the smart meters back in the day, they might have changed suppliers since they first started. And back when that happened, when we first had smart meters, if you switched supplier, your supplier didn't let you take your smart meter with you, effectively. So they turned it off the system and it didn't get turned back on again. Most of those are now being turned back on again. There is one sort of network that they're all on, and it can be done remotely. So this isn't all the end of the world. You can have it switched on again. But you might find as well, some people have chosen to have them switched off. Some people just don't trust them. And so you can actually have a smart meter but have it not being smart. That's not going to be a lot of the people involved, but some people will have that. And equally, the reason we're seeing a higher uptick in this latest amount of smart meters being reported is actually the data is just a bit more accurate now. It's not that there are more that are off the system, it's just that we're now seeing actually how many are.
But it still feels like the onus is on us as consumers to take control of the situation. Johnny in Kendall's been in touch. He supports people who fall into debt. There was a woman who came in who thought she was £3,000 in energy debt, but when it came to sending in the meter reading, she was highly distressed. She was owed £2,000. How can it come to that?
It's terrible, isn't it? And that's going to cause someone such anxiety. They're going to be so stressed out by this.
And a £5 difference.
It is wild that someone would be in that position. Unfortunately, we have seen that energy companies do have some of the worst customer service in all sectors, and people really struggle to get the right answers from energy companies. So you will find that people try and contact their energy company, try and find out what's happening, end up being passed from department to department, end up not necessarily on hold forever, but just being passed around until they can't get to the right person. So it is very, very frustrating for people. What I would say is stay on top of checking your readings. Don't just assume everything's always hunky-dory. Just have a look at the meter reading. Submit readings if you think there's any problems at all. But there is also a way to check that your smart meter is sending those readings. So have a look on your bill. So if you've got online bills, log in. If you get paper bills, every time there's a reading there, it should say next to it, smart. If it says smart, then happy days, your meter readings are going.
It's on the bill itself.
It's on the bill itself.
OK, right.
If it says estimate, it means that they're now estimating your readings and something's gone wrong. So contact your energy provider.
But basically, read the meter yourself.
I would always do that anyway, because I would say every so often, just have a look to make sure it's doing the right thing. The problem here is with smart meters, they're meant to be brilliantly convenient for everyone. That's the whole point in them. They are a meter, tells you how much energy is coming in and out. But the point is it tells your energy company how much is going in and out so that you don't have to. But I do think every so often it's worth you just double checking.
And sticking with it, because lots of people have got in touch saying they want to switch back, but actually you can't at this point, and so this is the future. It's just a case of getting it right, and thankfully energy companies are leaning in more to reporting it, and hopefully raising awareness means we'll all get a bit more on it, because it was 3 out of 3 with meters that weren't showing accurate
none of
readings.
us are working. Maybe we're just not smart. Maybe we're the problem.
You said it, yeah. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your messages on that. Pam's just been in touch. She said she's got an old house with 2-foot thick stone walls and the smart meter can't read and speak to the Wi-Fi, and nothing will work. Total waste of time, she says. So it's interesting whether some properties just don't lend themselves to it. Yeah. Thank you for all your messages.